to focus a little bit on the curriculum. Now, first, a few disclaimers. Number one, I am not the head of the curriculum. Bakurlis is the head of the curriculum. And just to give you a little bit of background about the curriculum has been worked on now for about 2.5 years. And we're about, I would say, out of 8 modules, we've completed about 3 of them. It's taking time. We want to be able to produce a good product, right? But there's a team. There's a team of servants. We have grade levels K through 8, so 9 servants working on each grade level, writing lessons diligently, non-stop, trying to get out a product. But it takes time to review, to write, to bounce ideas off each other, to really try to come up with a good product. So you have to understand that for the first 2 years, I say 1.5 years, we spent time on the structure. Just the structure. We didn't even write one lesson for 1.5 years. We're trying to build the conceptual understanding of what happens to a kid when they enter the Sunday school class in kindergarten, and how does a topic progress over the years. What we noticed in the previous curriculum, which was good, I don't want to knock any curriculum, because we have to know that no curriculum is scripture. No curriculum is perfect. Even the curriculum that we are spending so much time on is not going to be perfect. Right? I know that going into it. We all know that. So what we're trying to provide is a structure that the old curriculum lacked. We felt like, and we heard it from other servants, and you may have experienced, I know I experienced it when I was serving with the Southern Diocese curriculum, that you would go 1 week with St. Moses the Strong, next week Nativity, next week something else, and like, what are we doing? What is a kindergartner supposed to know? After this year is over, what should they know? What is appropriate for this first grader? How do I know I'm doing this right? And what am I leaving them with so that they can go to 2nd grade so they actually can take it from there? But no, what we do is, because we're insecure about this curriculum, every single lesson we try to cram in everything. Everything about everything. Liturgy, the fathers, the saints, you name it. Every lesson should have everything, because I don't trust what's going to happen next. I don't know what they're going to learn in the other classes, so I'm going to try to fill them with everything. And it's not, I get it. Like, we all understand. We're trying to do what's best for the kids. But it was exhausting. It's exhausting. And it's not efficient. It's not a good way to run curriculum. Like Abuna was saying, I was blessed in the background of education. I taught math for the high school level. I was a teacher for many years. But then I became a teacher for teachers. And part of that role was designing curriculum for math specifically, as the Common Core was coming up. Oh, whatever. It's the boring, whatever. So, but I spent a lot of time developing curriculum. And the most important thing about curriculum is structure, not the lesson. Because we want to encourage the servants to look at a lesson, the projected idea of a lesson, and say, I see where they're going with that. Let me try to make it something personal. Let me take my own spin on it. I would do that. They would want to do that activity. I would do this activity, right? If we make the curriculum too scripted, I think we're not training people how to fish, if you will, right? If we make the curriculum too scripted, it's going to be some guidance, but it's not going to be scripted. It's not going to be, say this, do that, But it will give you a guide. It'll say, for the introduction, you might want to spend 5 minutes talking about these points, And then for the activity, here's 10 minutes. You might want to do something like this. Here's a few options for activities. And then for closure, you want to do about 10 minutes here, and here's some ideas, right? And then here's what you want to communicate to the parents. That's a big one for us. We want to engage the families. So here's a little blurb that you can email the teachers, or the servants can email the parents and say, this is what we did today, this is what we're focusing on for the month, and this is how you can encourage at home. We're trying our best to keep it that consistent. So a little bit of the structure, because I'm very passionate about the structure, even though I know the structure is not perfect. Again, no curriculum is perfect. We're developing 8 modules, and the idea behind the module system is what? That they're independent of each other, and every grade level has about 4 lessons, and then a capstone activity. The capstone activity is supposed to be something that solidifies what was just being talked about for the last 4 weeks. We specifically want to stay within one topic for a month with different themes. So, for example, the best way I can illustrate this is our Saints module. I'm very proud of our Saints module. The Saints module is the lives of the saints. So, how does a kindergartner interact with the life of the saints versus an 8th grader? And we see how that progression happens from kindergarten to 8th grade. So, we're going to have the Saints module. So the idea is the servants takes that module off the shelf and they say, okay, parents, we're going to live in the Saints module for the next month. These are the saints that we're going to cover, and this is why we're covering them. And in the kindergarten, first, second level, it's about the heroes. All the saints, as much as we possibly can in those 4 weeks, to talk about the saints that are the heroes, like all the churches are named after. You know what I mean? Like St. George, and all that kind of stuff, right? St. Damiana for the girl. Like we want to make it balanced as well, and we also want to tap on the resources that the diocese is already making with the coloring books and things like that. Okay, so the heroes of the faith, the saints. It's just here's an introduction. Here's who they are and why they're famous. And then it gets more sophisticated as we go along. So from 3rd to 5th, it's more thematic. It's like we're looking at this group of saints based on the relationship with prayer. So we want to talk about this saint and how he exemplified prayer, and then this saint, how he did the same. And we talk about each saint in a specific theme. We talk about, another theme might be like the family life, and how these saints really highlight the family life. And we have, each week has a different story. Okay? So, and then by the time you're getting to 6th, 7th, and 8th, now it's not just knowing about them, but reading their writings. So by 8th grade, they're reading from St. John Chrysostom, right? They're learning about their life, but they're reading his work and a small passage, and we're going to reflect on it a little bit in 8th grade. So we see how a topic of the saints can progress from kindergarten to 8th grade. High school will have its own program. High school might be a combination of a servant's prep / what we kind of were exposed to with the modules, but that's a different committee and that's a different kind of system, and that's being worked on in parallel. So more information about that later. But right now, that's the essence of the module system. That we can take a topic, we can live with it for several weeks, and each week has a different purpose, but to complement the big theme of that module. Does that make sense? And so there's going to be roughly 8 modules, ranging from liturgical life to Orthodox spirituality, Orthodox faith, the saints, you name it. We're trying to reach a breadth of topics, and topics that can transcend age levels. So in Orthodox spirituality, it might be a good time to pull that out during Lent. But you would what? You would start with the idea of prayer life, and how does prayer life extend from kindergarten to 8th grade? And so there's different ways to engage with that. And so that's the big structure of the, and it's theory. It's experimental. We're trying it. It's never been done before. So you have to have patience with us. We're trying this out. We think it's a good plan, right? And we have a lot of reasons why we feel like this is the right plan. That way, after the month, you can say, yeah, these kids were supposed to know these 4 saints at this year with this level. And you feel like I have this activity at the end of the month that can really put it all together. And maybe it's the kids doing an activity that's presenting the 4 saints in some way, or something like that. There's something engaging with the activity. By February 1st, His Grace is hoping to be able to release the last 2 modules that we had. So we started off with the service module in October, and then we worked on the saints module and the spirituality module after that. They're done. But Seda wants to have another look on and review it and, just edit it and make it look, put it all together, because we have different servants from different areas, because we wanted that experience as well. We didn't want just like Orange County to write all the lessons, because that might not work for, this side or LA, like that might not work. So we asked for servants from St. Peter, St. Paul, we asked for Orange County, we asked for on this side, on Chino Hills and all that kind of stuff as well, in St. John. So we have different people working on it to give us different lenses and on different experiences. That was very specific and very intentional. And we'll see. So February 1st, we're hoping to release the 3 modules. Now, depending on the guidance of your father and whoever is helping lead the services of the church, you may be given freedom to experiment. And that's what we've been encouraging the different churches, to experiment. Why? Because you have from February, March, April, May, June. May, really, you have a few months to play with, right? We have Holy Week. We have other kind of things to kind of go in the way. But from now until summer, where we have Karaza and we have the competition material, that's kind of a standalone. It's separate from what we're doing. And we did that intentionally. I'm kind of all over the place. But we said there's 8 modules, right? About 4 weeks each module, each grade level, with the capsules 5 weeks each. So if you do the math, it's about 40 weeks, not 52. Right? And so it's intentional that this curriculum would end towards the summer, because we want to give room for the Karaza and the competition, so you guys aren't doing both, because you're not doing both, and we know this. When it comes to the competition stuff, we go all in. And so we want to do that intentionally. We know that's happening. That's the nature of what we built, unfortunately, with the competition aspect of it. We want to get that excellent. So we go all in. We have multiple meetings. We want to be able to relieve the kids and the servants a little bit, not to be stressed out about the summer programs, and to just have a good time learning more about the church. So we want the rest of the year to feel a little bit more like the summer, in terms of it's a focused lesson, focused program, and then there's an end to it. And then there's a focused program, and then there's an end to it. And we find success in that. Most people will enjoy, even adults, you'll enjoy if the church put on a series. We have 6 weeks that we're going to learn about the incarnation. People can buy off on that, because there's a clear start and there's a clear end, right? And I know I can commit myself for 6 weeks. I can do that, right? But when it comes to just like an ongoing, I don't know where this is going, I don't know where this is ending, that's where we had to say, let's take a step back and let's structure this differently, okay? So you have time to experiment with these lessons and the structure, and I would highly suggest, though, when you do get the permission to try this stuff out, that you, as a team of servants, sit together and review all the lessons all together. You have to know who's covering what, so that we're not repeating and stepping on each other and doing the same thing over and over. Because we don't want to go right back to what we did with the Southern Diocese. We don't want to. My lesson is going to have it all. No, I'm focused on this lesson. You're going to take it from there. You'll take it from there. And you'll take it from there. By the end, we're going to wrap it up with this activity. So I would highly encourage the collaborative effort between the team of servants. It's so necessary to understand, where is this package going? And so that we're all on the same page. Even if this is one servant giving all 4 lessons, everybody needs to know what's going on. Everybody has to know what the theme and the point is for this month, so we can communicate to parents, so that we can communicate with each other and the kids. So, what are your questions? What are your thoughts? Yes?
For the Lent, that month of the Lent, you want to focus on the events of the spirituality of that month. What happened with the curriculum?
So that's why we tried to push to get, the question is in Lent. We want to focus on the spirituality of Lent, right? And it's valid. So that's why from October till January, we're really trying to get the Orthodox spirituality module done, which touches on those themes. And so we were encouraging the churches to say, because one of the questions is, when do I do the Saints module? Are we going to have a timeline that's consistent with all the churches? We may not. It may be up to the church to decide, and the grade levels to decide, for the month of March, I want to do the spirituality module. And so we're going to focus on the spiritual, and I'm going to try to time it, look at my calendar, and try to time it that it's going to end right before Palm Sunday. And that way we can lead into Holy Week and have its own focus on the Holy Week, But, so the Orthodox spirituality module can support those themes, but it won't necessarily talk about the Sundays of Lent. Do you know what I mean? Why? Because the sermon does. So again, we were trying to do everything all at once. We were trying to replicate what the sermon just said. So in most of our Sunday school classes, we take that weekend and we talk about what the sermon just did. No, the sermon is for everybody, for the littles and for the adults. It's for everybody. We don't want to lose. It's not efficient, So there's a place to talk about the themes and the Sundays of the church and the feasts of the church, that's a sermon. What everybody's doing, if that makes sense.
So if I understand you correctly, it's different or separate modules. The sermons up to them when they're going to teach each module. It's not ordered, or it's not just...
We're going to leave it to the wisdom of the fathers. So, for example, the fathers can say, I want everyone from K through 8 to do it this way. To say, saints in September, spirituality in March. Like, they might have a certain way to... We're going to give a suggested timeline, or like a suggested pathway to cover the material, but we're not going to say this is like, because it's not a dictation. We have to leave it to the wisdom of the fathers. And the fathers can say, when it comes to Holy Week, stop the curriculum and focus on Holy Week. And do, like he could say in March, go ahead and focus on the Sundays of Lent, by all means. But that's up to the wisdom of the fathers in the church and the head of servants and things like that.
Having a suggested plan might be very helpful.
That's what, yeah. We're going to hopefully have a suggested pathway of how do you do this in, the 10 months, if you will. What's a good way what can this look like? It won't be perfect because there's always something on a weekend. Like, there could be a festival. There's a whole weekend gone. Like, what do you do with that? That's why we have to leave it to the church, because the St. John Festival is very different than any other, So that's a very specific time of the year, and that will disrupt something. But that could be intentional. That could be planned. And that has to be specific to this church. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So when you say that there's going to be a plan, right? Is it going to be the same thing for the 100 years?
Is it going to be the same thing?
Is it going to be the same thing when you release the...
I don't know if he's going to have it. The question is there going to be an app that holds the curriculum? We're trying to. But we don't know if the technology will be there by February 1st, but that's the plan. And hopefully that you can click kindergarten, click first week.
So the question is, if it's not released on...
Then we'll give you a link to the Google Drive.
For being unified, all the church doing the same thing, it has a value in it.
Of course.
A lot of kids move from one church to another.
Of course.
Even if you saw the parents don't do that. So if the church, everyone does his own, the kids could keep repeating the same lesson over every year.
You're right. So the question is like church hoppers. And what to do if we're doing the saints, right? Is that okay? Is that okay? So what do you do if they're hearing the same lesson, they did it in different order and things like that? I'm not afraid of that. I think that's okay. Why? Because what we do at HJC might be very different what happens here at St. John, and the servants of that age group might have taken the suggestion for the lesson, applied it this way, and it was a beautiful lesson. And then when they heard it at a different church, for example, same thing, same topics, they might have had a different flavor to it, and it just enhances the curriculum or that lesson, for example. Sure, there'll be gaps, but that's going to happen because they're a church hopper. It's not because of the curriculum. I think we put a lot of emphasis on the curriculum, that it has to be such a structured, but there are cases like that where people miss for weeks and they church hop and they do this and so I'm not afraid of that, and I actually want to encourage that there's different flavors to the lesson, and I think that's going to make the curriculum even better. You were going to ask?
What is the estimated timeline for the new curriculum? When is it rolled out?
It's going to be a rolling release. So as fast as the servants, without getting burnt out, can finish the lessons, and as fast as Aiden can review them, and his team reviewing, that's what we're under the pressures of. So
You said the first two are ready.
the first 3 are basically done, but Satan wants to review the last 2. You have to understand the political nature of things, right? So in our day and age of social media, you release something that has dogma, and people highlight and it blogs, and it gets nasty. So we want to do our best to not be afraid of that, but we want to quickly get it out as fast as we can without losing quality. So it's a balance between the two. So that's why we're releasing the 3, hopefully by February 1st. And then by that time, it'll be summer. And then from that time, September, we'll have more stuff to release. So you have more of a package to do the following year, if that makes sense.
Does that mean next week we start out with the new curriculum?
we're still waiting to hear from Sayyidina. If he'll announce through an email, through the fathers, that it's either ready or not, you know? And so, I didn't realize it was next week. He just said it. And it's stressing me out. Okay. No, but I'm waiting to hear from Sayyidina if how far along he's gotten. He personally took that on himself that he wants to review. So, okay, Sayyidina, whatever you want to do, I guess. Any other questions or concerns? Yes?
In regards to the older grades that
Yeah. So it's a different committee, so I'm not privy to those conversations what they're having, but it's happening in parallel. And I don't know when the projected timelines are to release any information right now. But I know some of the Satanist thoughts were to make it a combination of like servants prep in high school with the combination of the modules, that the online certification that everybody went through. Like, so kind of a combination of different topics and those kind of categories, but to go more in depth. Because the idea of having a separate servants prep program was a little bit redundant. Because if you did Sunday school right, there would be no need, and discipleship would be there, like those kind of things, you know. So it's all theory. It's all theory. So be patient. Any other questions, concerns about the curriculum? We're okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.